In this video, I would like to share with you what I've learned from growing up with a narcissistic father. For me, it's very helpful to think about the possible lessons I've learned from painful experiences, even though this obviously can be challenging sometimes. Thinking about lessons helps me create a positive and kind atmosphere in my mind. This video is based on what is actually one of my first articles when I started the process of my own website, which later on expanded with my YouTube channel. I'm very thankful for what this journey has brought me personally and for how I could help others in this process at the same time. First, I will tell a bit about my youth and the family dynamics, and then I will tell you about what I've learned. If you also have a narcissistic parent or even both parents, I would love to hear what you've possibly learned from it as well. I hope this video can be helpful to you. As a young kid, I thought my father had some anger or self-control issues because he could sometimes be verbally aggressive for no reason and act like a child. I didn't know someone could be narcissistic or a pathological liar. When I was around the age of 12, I discovered it was not just aggression or a lack of self-control. He appeared to be an actor and nothing seemed to be real or sincere. He lied all the time and it seemed he really believed his own lies. It was quite fascinating and shocking at the same time. He had another family on the side and we all silently knew. Still, nothing happened or changed. He could manipulate everything away as not being a problem with a developing variety of manipulative behavior. He could be very charming and deny anything without blinking. It was all about his ego and the need for attention, and there wasn't any explanation why he would behave as he did. The only explanation for me was that he had no conscience or had no ability to feel emotions, which I thought was kind of sad for him. He showed lying patterns, manipulated, and at the age of 16 I could almost exactly predict his behavior as I became an observer of his ways. He seemed to be a genius in manipulation and it wasn't visible to the outside world. Depending on the situation or what he wanted, he would show specific behavior to get it done. And it worked because he is an intelligent man and became very developed in his manipulation game. The attention in the whole family was directed at him, and during the years we grew into very unhealthy dynamics. We all became very toned down characters when he was around, and personally I had a lot of fears and low self-esteem. I became great at acting invisible and avoiding conflicts. I was just waiting to be free. I learned early on from being with other families that a family could be about kindness, love and care also, luckily. When I realized the emptiness of our family, I wanted to become the opposite of my father. He became my example of what I don't want, and I'm grateful for that. Now, I try to let this negative example go as well, as I don't want to focus on the past. So, let me tell you about a few things I learned from growing up with a narcissistic father. The first thing I learned is taking good care of myself. Clearly, narcissists take excessive care of themselves in their ego-based world, without taking others into consideration. There is no balance in this. The opposite of this behavior is also possible, where people only take care of others and they forget about themselves. This can happen when someone has narcissists in their environment. If you recognize that you always put others first, it would be good to think more about yourself. A lot of victims are empaths that think mainly about others. They might think about the expectations and thoughts of other people and put aside their own issues. Similar to the narcissist's way, this is not balanced and does negatively influence your energy in the long term. I saw how my mother did this for my father and it's not healthy. It makes no sense to not consider your own needs, as no healthy person would want you to forget about yourself. Take care of yourself first. So, I learned from my parents' dynamic that it's important to care for yourself and show kindness to yourself. I look for a balance between taking care of myself and taking care of others. Another thing I learned that is quite useful in, for example, the work environment is my manipulation detector. I learned to observe and analyze behavior instead of blindly focusing on the words people say. The actual behavior shows more truth. I know and feel when someone is trying to manipulate others or me, and when someone uses guilt or other emotional tricks to get certain behavior in return. This can be useful. The third lesson for me is the importance of honesty and honest communication. Because my father could only lie and even seem to believe his own lies, I appreciate honest communication. This means not cheating on someone in a relationship and having some principles to live by for yourself. It helped me to decide I wanted to live by some core principles, such as honesty, kindness, and clarity. I had no clear identity for myself when trying to survive, which gave me the opportunity to consciously choose how I wanted to be as a person. I can decide how I think, and thus how my character evolves. The fourth lesson I learned is to take the consequences of my actions to others into consideration. I want to live my life with good intentions. I've seen the draining effect of narcissists and their self-centered actions on their environment, and I don't want that. Clearly, it's not possible to control what effects your actions will have on others, but having good intentions and thinking about others will probably have mostly positive effects. The fifth lesson is to realize the emptiness of stuff. My father bought a lot of stuff for himself for hobbies he would never even practice. He was buying stuff online all the time and had all the equipment needed for several hobbies. He mostly dreamt about it, and I think he loved to take his mind there to think about it. He almost never actually used all of this though, because he was too busy working or being with this other family. I didn't understand this dynamic and learned to think about my spending and whether I will really use something that I want to buy. Therefore, I learned to appreciate the function or the feeling material gives me, but I know the material in itself is empty. I love the idea of minimalism, where you really think about if something makes you happy. It's basically a form of awareness. The sixth lesson is about emptiness of status. I saw a lot of ego flattery and publicly parading in my youth. My father always needed appreciation and confirmation, and it seemed insecure and empty. He was proud of all his achievements, talents, and intelligence, and he downgraded the same things when it was about someone else. I think it's fine to be proud of something, but also to recognize if you might be too dependent on status or flattery. When status or ego flattery becomes a need and you want to cling to it, it's not healthy anymore, I think. The seventh lesson is about ego. I have never seen an ego as large as my father's ego. Everything in his mind is about him, and he is controlled by his thirst for validation. This unconsciously has made me come into contact with Eastern philosophies, such as Buddhism and Taoism. I learned a lot from these philosophies about not having an ego, the universe, meditating, and living in the moment. In a way, the principles of Eastern philosophies are opposite to the small world of a narcissist that only involves their ego. Meditation and mindfulness have been great in dealing with thoughts, emotions, stress, fears, and energy in general. It has inspired me, and I'm thankful for this. The eighth lesson is helping others in kindness. As a response to doing selfish things that can hurt other people for no reason, I think it's great to help others and be kind for no reason. I believe our heart is kind and everyone is of equal worth. Life is not always easy, and helping others and showing kindness, even in a small way like smiling to a stranger, can mean the world to someone and make a difference. The ninth lesson is that I learned that it's important to set boundaries and to protect your own energy. Although it's a process and I know I can improve a lot more in this aspect, it's better than before. I sooner become aware of someone pushing my boundaries and can respond better to it. I learn to say no way more often in order to protect myself from doing things I don't want. I'm still learning, as I do still care about the expectations of others. To conclude, the only thing constant in life is change. Clearly, I am still learning and developing. I am thankful in a way that my experiences have made me who I am today. I'm thankful I became aware of my own influence and responsibility on my thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and thus on who I am. I try to keep planting positive seeds in my mind and water them with care. Every small step in the right direction is important and will become great change with consistency and patience. I'm curious about your story and I would love to hear about what you have possibly learned from it. Subscribe to my channel to stay updated. Thank you for listening, and I wish you kindness and strength.